Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 346. Let's dive right in. Get here. Okay, so all of these are fine. I have uh, no no question that you could take any of these to a fairly easy 7. I think I just want to jump in on the Nasus here. We've been drafting quite a bit of Nasus here recently, it seems, but these other packs just aren't really that good. I mean, I guess we could take the Draven and try to jump into Spiders, but uh, this is a pretty good Nasus. I'm always interested in if we can't like pop off on this Sanctum Conservator. It seems like it shouldn't be that hard to win a game with this in Expedition. It seems like we can pretty easily get Nasus to 10, and then the game usually just ends. But I guess getting him to 10 is 8 slays, and getting an additional 5 slays is a little bit more work. But nonetheless, I mean, as far as these other packs go, I don't like the They Who Endure version of Fluffed and Tuft Braum. This can be, kind of a safer version of Braum in that you aren't getting like stuck with a Poro Snacks or with uh, a Call of the Wild right at the start, so you don't have this awkward draft to where you take something different in pack 2, you don't want to draft Poros, but then you have these Poro required cards in your deck. So you at least aren't starting like that with Braum here. But my thing with They Who Endure is like I really like to draft the Poro Snacks Poros, and then I like to draft the uh, Fluffed and Tuft, whatever the mound of Poros. I don't know, whatever that card is called. That's kind of like my second preferred deck, and then They Who Endure is kind of down there at like tier 3.5, and so I'm not super excited about drafting that. Then again, over here with this Draven, like these are just a weak set of cards. This is like both Arachnid Sentry and Scorched Earth are these cards that are like, well, there's like a decent curve filler pack or something, and you're avoiding taking something that's completely unplayable. These just aren't like super good cards. Whereas Exhaust, Sank, and Conservator are both extremely good, and Nasus is extremely good. So we'll take a moment. We'll get this pulled up on the site. And yeah, and if you're not familiar with it, it's ftpbus.com. It's where I keep all of my expedition related content. We're just going to be on the main page here. We'll scroll our way over to Nasus. Uh, where you at, buddy? And pull up the Slayers pool. And so this pairs up with Kindred out of Shadow Isles, and it's meant to be taking advantage of the slays. You can kind of see it on Nasus himself. He gets the bonus for getting slays. Things like Bakai Reaper get bonuses if you get slays, and then of course Kindred has a lot of the same cards over on his side. And so, as far as Nasus is concerned, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of reason to just chase after this. Like if we do end up in Shadow Isles and have some of the cards that are kind of more slay centric, then sure we will. But I tend to just be pretty happy with being able to interact with our opponents with the vulnerables. So you're going to have your exhausts, your rock hoppers, and your ruthless predators. Up in your expensive land, you're going to have Bakai Sandspinner, and I can't remember if Merciless Predator is in this deck. It's one of those things where it was in the new set, and the cards from the new sets haven't quite been released to the Expedition spreadsheet yet. But I think Merciless Hunter lives here as well. He may just be in Challenger. I probably got the wrong name as well. But the 4/3 for 3 that gives something vulnerable when you play it, and it has Fearsome, has to live in this pool, right? It fits in all the themes. But just tons of ways to interact with your opponent's units. And then it also has the decent removal spells here. Siphoning Strike being the big and good one, and then Boomerang Blade being the slightly less good but still acceptable one. And so the problems that we do run into here with Nasus are that there's no really good early game plays. The big thing we're trying to pull off here is say we like play a Rock Hopper on 2, and then on turn 3 we play a Steamed Hierophant, like the 3/4 for 3 mana. And then we get a value attack with him. And so the problem with these units that live here, it's hard to get these value attacks with the likes of Rockhopper and the likes of Bakai Reaper. And so you either need to find yourself in another card pool that has some early game plays, uh, or you can't really just rely on these vulnerables. And so we'll see what shows up. This card pool can also try to pull off the Fearsomes. We don't talk about it too much. It seems like something that the Nasus pool is trying to build itself towards in the future. But Nasus has Fearsome, and his flip has the -1 attack thing. You have like Raz Bloodmane and what's this, Rite of Dominance to give your opponent's units negative attack, and so it should make their units have more of a challenge in blocking your Fearsomes. But the Fearsomes don't quite live here just yet. There's just Nasus, the Reaper, Raz Bloodmane, and then of course the Merciless Hunter that we aren't sure if lives in this pool or not. But all around great start. This is always a good pack to jump into. Let's see what shows up here. Interesting. Oh, wow. I didn't know Buried Sun Disc actually lived in the token attacks pool. That's really strange to see that pop up. Um, huh. This is like such a strange pool in the sense that it's like we know Dunekeeper lives here. It has like the Dunekeeper and it has Sandcrafter as its like only commons, but really weird seeing Buried Sun Disc in token attacks. That's something to consider. As far as these other packs go, Elise and Rasa both have Fearsome, so if we wanted to dive into the Fearsome style deck, we could do it. Elise has it. Arachnid Sentry's gonna have it, or I guess it's Arachnid Horror, and then also the Fearsome Dog lives in this pool. So in the sense of like building the Fearsomes deck, this would be pretty good. In the sense of trying to piece together a something to take advantage of vulnerables, not that great, but it is a reasonable choice. And then down here with Fizz, Spellslingers is just not something we're ever really looking to do. And so this one is kind of tough. I've really rarely had any success using the Sun Disc strategies. It's just like the Shurima just seems to be like so weak in the early game that it's kind of tough to pull this off. But like we see this so infrequently that I'm really kind of interested in taking it. And so I do think that if you're looking to go after your 7-win trial, probably just prefer to take this Elise and then try to. There's two ways you could approach it, right? You go to the kind of like standard Slayers control decks that we pieced together, to where you're probably going to take a Kindred as your third and your fourth champion. You're going to look for the early game sacrifice units, like your Cursed Keeper type plays, and then just kind of pivot into a control deck. Then just Elise is a good high quality 2-drop. Rasa is fantastic in a Slayer style deck, and then Phantom Prankster is going to be pretty weak, but this is like the good core of that kind of deck, or it's also a good core to going into Fearsomes. But it's so hard for us to find these Sun Discs that I'm really intent on making this work before we before we get out of the Empires the Ascended set. And so I'm going to go with the Sun Disc today. And then, one of the big things to remember with the Sun Disc is you need to stay 100% Shurima. And so if you want to draw this in your opening hand, all your cards have to be Shurima. And so we can't be putting, Green Glade duos in this and drafting towards Nasus or drafting towards Azir. We can't be putting our Relentless Pursuits into here as much as Azir likes it. We have to really stick over to the to Shurima. So as far as these packs go, I'm fine continuing on with the token attacks theme. I don't really like Sandswept Tomb, but Dunekeeper is okay. But I think over here, this is kind of tough. Like, I think we might just want to take the removal spell. I don't know. The thing that's going to be awkward for this deck is I feel like we're probably going to just like heavily build towards Sand Soldiers and Azir, but we have the Sun Disc and we're going to try and get some of that going. But like we can't take advantage of this Sandswept Tomb. We can't. This isn't any good unless you have like scouts or ways to attack multiple times. These cards over here are just so weak. All right, we'll start taking in the Sand Soldiers and see if we can't do anything in this direction. I'm not counting on this to be something that we like super pursue, but I think the Dunekeeper will be okay. Where that tangent was going is like if you want to be in the Sun Disc deck, you're probably going to have 3 champions. You're going to have Azir, Nasus, and probably Renekton. And then you're going to also be looking to get the Allegiance unit in here. But it's like if we're going to build towards token, we want to have 3 Azirs, where that's getting kind of awkward. But down here, anyways, the Shapestone Rite of Calling is completely fine. I'm not a huge fan of Weight of Judgment or Bloodthirsty Marauder. The Marauder never gets us those value attacks we were looking for, and then there's just a ton of 4-drops in Shurima, and I really want to be picking and choosing the good ones and not just accepting them because they're mediocre removal spells. But, the tokens can keep coming on. I'm fine to go ahead and start building towards this. I think this seems like it should be pretty reasonable. We'll kind of push away from the Slay theme. I do not like Devoted Councils, so I think these are okay here. We really need to be finding the Inspiring Marshals, and we need to be finding Emperor's Diaz's, though. Those are going to be our big key cards as far as the Sand Soldiers are concerned. But here's our last chance to pivot away from Shurima. We're just not going to do that. And so happy enough to pick up this Marshal. It's going to be a really key component to our deck. And we do have a Challenger here. As far as the Challengers go, I'm really hoping that we can pick up a Renekton. It's really kind of crappy if you get you get deep into this Azir style deck, and then you're forced to take a Talia. But you know, things are going okay here. We got some more Sand Soldier generators. It's looking pretty strong on that front here. Again, we just need some Emperor's Diaz's, and I would like to pick up another way to give our units a bonus attack. And now we have Voice of the Risen. This is an extremely strong set. The Chronomancer is one of the few units that can actually pick on our opponent's smaller bros, and so I'm extremely happy to have these. Also hoping some of the 3/4s show up, the Esteemed Hierophants, because we are going to have like a reasonable amount of vulnerables in here. Hopefully have a reasonable amount of vulnerables. Okay. Interesting. I think we're good on the Dunekeeper Sandcrafters. We've got 4 Dunekeepers, 2 Sandcrafters. I'd be okay to pick up 1 more. But again, like this token attacks card pool, these are the only 2 commons in the card pool, so it shouldn't be too challenging to pick these up. I think I'm interested in the Rockhopper and the Shapestone here. The Shapestone really wants us to be coming out and picking up some Emperor's Diaz's. We just haven't seen any of them yet. So, all right, what are we gonna do here? I want to completely stay away from these rock bears. I don't want any of these showing up. I don't want the game in any way, shape, or form think that we want to be drafting Talia. And so I'm going to stay away from these. Like, Sivir would be okay as our 3rd champion, but I definitely don't want Talia showing up. So I'm going to skip over that. And if we're getting a Sandstone Chimera, both of these cards are fine in the Ruthless Predator and the Dunekeeper. What's our early game interaction looking like? We have 1 Exhaust and 1 Rockhopper. Then Bakai Sandspinner at 4. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up the Ruthless Predator, just to have a little bit more interactivity. Boom, here's some more. The Merciless Hunter, Unraveled Earth. Pretty strong. There's an argument to take Spirit Fire, but I think we'll get another Sandcrafter at some point through the trial here. Okay, so we got a 3rd Shapestone Golden Ambassador. I guess these are going to be pretty easy to pop off since we just have the Sun Disc on turn 1 every game. Well, not every game. I tend to not play it every game, but I think this would be pretty strong. Again, the Dunekeeper Sandcrafter packs keep showing up. That's kind of like always our fallback. We can just kind of take it if that's what is required of us. But here, I want the Siphoning Strike Bakai, just all around pretty strong pack, getting us a good removal spell, and then pretty much a removal spell in the Bakai. Again, the token attacks pack is back in action. I would like to take 1 more of them, but we'll just have to see what shows up. All right, and they didn't show up here, so let's take the Siphoning Strike Marauder. I don't want the Sandswept Tombs. Again, we have 1 that we don't want. The Naturalist could be okay in here. I do actually like the Naturalist a little bit in these decks, just since we kind of always have a Sun Disc, and it gives us a good target to destroy with that, but the removal spells are a little bit too strong here. Ooh, another Inspired Marshal, just what we need. Perfect. That's going to get us up to 3 of these effects between the 2 Marshals and then the 1 Voice of the Risen. So I think we're looking pretty strong there. Sucks to trade out the Dunekeeper, but you can see how highly we valued those. It's not like super high. We shouldn't have too much trouble picking up some more of those along the way. I was kind of hoping that we could either like find one, or I should say a Sandcrafter. I was hoping to find like a Sandcrafter in Ascension, so that we could get the just like with another good card that wasn't Dunekeeper, but it didn't quite play out that way. But I'd say that we should be able to pick some up in trade picks. So, all right, let's go ahead and turn somebody premium. Let's see what we got here. Oh wow, are we really just down to a Soothsayer as well? But it's like we're just down to the 1 card. All right, spells. What are you going to do for us here? Looks like we got 3 Shapestones in our deck. I could see this to be a pretty important improvement here. So, welcome to the party, Shapestone. Alrighty, let's get to it. So let's see how this plays out. It's interesting in that the Azir should be pretty easy to flip. It does seem like it feels like more of a token attacks deck than it does a Sun Disc deck, but if we're ever going to flip these champions, that's kind of the way that it has to look, I think. And so I think this could realistically be getting Sun Disc popping off between Azir being an easy flip, Nasus being pretty easy, and then if we pick up Renekton being easy-ish. If we pick up Sivir is a little easier than Renekton, and so I think we could potentially do some cool stuff here. But with these, we'll just hang on to the 1. Everything else here is a little bit more expensive. Ideally, we kind of need a way to interact with this Zed. We don't have a whole lot of ways to interact with the Zed, but hoping to find a vulnerable in here. But let that countdown begin. We also have to look at this as being more of a mid-rangey kind of deck, I do believe. Not quite the Sparring Student Greenglade Duo Emperor's Diaz style of deck that can come out the gates really quick. Right, then we need to take the Ruthless Predator just as a means to protect ourselves against Zed. A pretty good chance that like he won't play next turn. I think we can probably just get everyone to pass next turn. And then we can like Doomkeeper in front of Zed and feel pretty okay about it. Always looks pretty shifty when you're the when you're the Shurima deck and you're just passing. There he is. Okay. So let's get our Doomkeeper down now. And how much do we really need to protect ourselves against this? I think do we want to invest everything into the Chronomancer? Or do we want to be like greedy? He's played the Eager Apprentice. Don't have... Well, we have to just do it on the Ruthless Predator. Or on the Chronomancer. Like, there's just too many cards, like a Vile Feast or a Mystic Shot out of the Piltover Shadow Isles. If he has a Twin Disciplines, he has a Twin Disciplines. There's nothing we could do about that. But we do at least get to play around all the other cards this way. Just a little unfortunate that he had it. Have to imagine he just opens here. That's incredibly greedy if he doesn't.
Excuse me?
Okay. I'm just gonna have to try and build ourselves up to this Siphoning Strike. Awkward.
Even steel sings its story.
So bad if we have to, if it try to like Siphoning Strike this Zed and then he has a Homecoming or something. Really don't like just opening with it. So don't have a lot of other choices though. I don't really want to be attacking with this Voice of the Risen. Alright. Let's just get ready to push that button in the top right. It's like, what else are we supposed to do here? We're gonna play a... we can beat a suit up. But it's like, are we just gonna play a... like Sandswept Tomb and hope things go okay with Voice of the Risen? No, we're not doing that. So, we'll at least have a good attack now. You can have the Epic off of the Benefactor. I'm okay with that. Interesting choice in dropping the Blade Scout. It doesn't do anything here.
Do you know who I am?
Sure. How many slays we got? 2. We're almost there on the Conservator. Okay, not a lot we can do about Thresh. We can hopefully get a Bakai play done on him next turn though. So let's get Inspired Marshal down. He's clearly just going to hook our Voice of the Risen. And then next turn we have this like Sandswept Tomb, Doomkeeper, all boosted by Inspired Marshal, and he's going to have to start interacting with things. Make it pretty easy for him to level up his Thresh. I guess his Thresh leveling up doesn't really matter. He doesn't have any champions left. Exhaust is interesting. Probably going to be exhausting this turn. Even if it's just to, like, say, try and thresh down with the Doomkeeper. Rather taking down with the Sand Soldier, I guess, but this is looking strong. Especially if we can get Bakai going next turn with the Enter the Battlefield Slay. Sting. See if he taps out or anything anything cool like that. Something I'd like to see. Team. Alright. This attack doesn't seem that great. Let's just leave this back. He's still just gonna have to deal with the charger. Getting 2 slays. Now we can use Bakai next turn. Seems good. You're almost there, Conservator. 9 more slays. You'll be ready for it. Take down his big boy. Kind of curious what he's going to be boosting in his hand. But we have the Merciless Hunter as our means of trying to take it down. Okay, that's fine. Keeps our Bakai healthy for a potential vulnerable next turn. Okay. Fortunately, can't do both, but we'll see how this goes. Sure. Rite of Calling. Like both of our champions, if we lose a mana, we can't. So if we pick up Azir, then we're good. I'm not sacrificing off the Bakai to pick up a random champion. I think we're. It's like, yes, we can play the Hunter first, but that doesn't get us where we want. I think we need to save this for whatever he just made huge in his hand. Can't be problematic, like if he just boosted an Empyrean or something, or even a Green Glade duo. It's pretty tough for us to deal with that, but if it's just like a random ground god, it just doesn't matter. You don't matter that much. For me. Wait till next turn. Sure. That seems positive. Four slay. What? Not just slay something. +2 rekindlers. That's fairly brutal. Sure, he'd love to be bringing back this flipped Thresh, but not the way it's playing out. If you've slain 13 units this game, kill cat. Oh my god. Cats are dumb sometimes. Alright, what? Why did he play the keeper before the duo? But this is weird, right? Oh, he's got +2/+2 from Siphoning Strike. I thought it... But still, he says Nasus has 5 slays. This one says I have 4 slays. Right? I have +1/+1 for each unit you've slain this game. You've slain 13 units. He's supposed to say units. I don't know. We're just dead. Okay, that kind of is what it is. I don't think there was any way that we could have gotten the vulnerable onto one of these Green Glade duos. So that was why I didn't want to play it last turn, and I was kind of interested in playing the Rite of Calling, just as a kind of means to try and get the vulnerable down onto an elusive, because that was literally the only way we're ever going to lose that game, but that's fine. All right, here's an improvement, picking up another Voice of the Risen for the Chimera. We're looking pretty good as far as these Sand Soldier themes go. Now that we've gotten like the second Voice of the Risen, I'm probably just never going to pick up champions that aren't Azir. I think we're pretty well set to that end. We can probably just ignore the Sun Disc. So we'll see how this plays out a little bit. Cats quit doing dumb stuff. Cat, you are not allowed to sit on top of my computer. All right, opponent, where are you at? Let's find us a good one here. There we are. Okay. It's probably a Blood on the Ice Ash. So with this Noxus up here, he's probably going to have a Nox Kryia Arena in his deck, and that's just weird. He has Aurelion Soul paired with it. But that's fine. Let's look for some early game plays here. See what we can do. Real enticing early game plays. I wish you could destroy landmarks with this thing and just draw the champion off of the Sun Disc, but it's not the way it works, I guess. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to Doomkeeper. I'm going to try to draw well, we're going to draw Azir. Is what's going to happen if this Rite of Calling is successful. Kill an ally. Okay. Alright, I'm strong.
Do not see what is, see what will be.
Another round of no plays.
A chill in the air. Always forward.
Do this. We could always just try and hook it with Azir as well, but I don't really want to get damage put on our Azir. I don't want him dying to like a Scorched Earth or something here. And I think this is fine. If he wants to play like a Brittle Steel or something to stop this trade, like we're already getting a 2-for-1. He's getting a 2-for-1 out of this. If it turns into a different card, it's okay. Let's go ahead and get those things out of here. But we're getting those summons in. Okay.
Arrows at the ready.
Let me hear you call our Emperor's name!
Oh, we hit the allegiance. we just didn't have any cards to use with it. Alright, let's burst past this and see if he does anything. Whoa, he's ramping. Oh god, are we just gonna get Aurelion sold like super early? And he drew 2 off of that? Oh my god. Okay. It's not ideal.
I don't want to meet whatever woke you up.
This is gonna be bad, isn't it? Probably just have to go in with Azir now.
My life for Avarosa. I'll protect the villages.
Pretty close to having things go right. Can't having two expensive dudes in its top 4, having the behold, and it's just okay. But we're about to have a massive amount of stats. If we get the Marshal down, the Voice of the Risen down next turn, the single Sand Soldier attack will give us our Azir flip, and so everything will have the +2 bonus. We got to get out in front of this stuff quick. So.
To the streets. Show them the
At least we'll have the exhaust for next turn if we want. It's fine.
a weapon heavy with history.
The Howling Abyss. So much greed today. Alright, so how much of this are we going to bring in? We probably just have to be ultra greedy here and go for it. $8.15. He's gonna. It's just fine. Next weakest. Sucks to lose this thing. We probably, well, we'd rather just lose Inspired Marshal at this point, right? Because we're never going to lethal this turn. If he has some kind of trick, he shouldn't have tricks. But the Voice of the Risen's stronger than Inspired Marshal.
Now we will achieve it.
Is that enough still? That's enough. Okay. Nice. I'm glad Lou survived that one. That was pretty scary. Pretty greedy, but pretty scary as well.
They cheer our name. Our legacy is eternal.
I saw. I really just wanted to build towards the tokens, but I saw all those countdowns come off of the Sun Disc, and it really gets me thinking that we can do it. So. You're gonna jump in on this Renekton? I think I like it. As far as Azir goes, I would really rather not have more Inspired Marshals. We're good on these expensives. I do want one more Sandcrafter, but I think I'm kind of okay with this stuff. Can we ever get this Renekton to flip? It's our 3rd Siphoning Strike, which is kind of a lot. Huh. You can get to level 3. You can get this level 3 Renekton. Okay. Let's count on the trades. We'll get another Azir as our 4th champion pack, and then see if we can't just trade into the additional Sand Soldier makers. I don't think Exhaust is keepable with a hand like this. We have to have like some unit that we can put down. Merciless Hunter, you're not exactly who I had in mind, but it's better than nothing. Got it. Countdown begins. Who's Esteemed Hierophants at? Need. Raven. Okay.
Everyone bleeds for the right price.
Arna's gonna make a meal of them.
The bloodier the
Yeah, this is unfortunate. He's just gonna have a trick here frequently, but at least if it's like a Frostbite, he doesn't get the additional unit out of it. Okay.
Bask in the sunlight.
Yeah, Renekton. Pretty good in this spot.
Who's with me?
This is kind of cool as well, if, depending on like how willing we are just to pass here. If he just doesn't get attacks out of his Braum.
We see through all.
Let's see how this goes. Pretty okay if this just gets passed back to us.
This will be a good winter.
Okay, it's a big chunk of damage, but we do have this this huge Renekton turn this turn, assuming this stuff goes right. But between the Renekton hook onto Starlit Seer, having a Siphoning Strike for Braum, kind of dig it. And is too expensive just to be adding other units. I guess we could. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say I guess we could add Nasus, but he's pretty tiny at this point. It's aggressive. Okay.
An auspicious season. Back to our perch.
Interesting. Have to get rid of that thing. Can't risk a Frostbite taking our Renekton's down. Kinda okay to just take a 7 hit from these other things, but alright. Did that countdown go? Alright. Not feeling real good about this when he's sending those Noxus Blast to face. You're gonna hook Renekton, right? Yeah. I think there's a pretty good chance we're just dead here, but yeah, he's just gonna be one of these people who doesn't like cool shit, man. Some people just don't like cool shit. What can you do about that? Oh, people these days. Just out here trying to have fun. Alright. Let's move on. That was a classic Shurima problem where you just have too much mana in your hand and you can't get it down on the board. So we do need to try and just get some more cheaper stuff onto the board in the early game. Cool to trade out a Shapestone for a Rockhopper that's right on board with what our deck is trying to do. Feels pretty good. So yeah, I'm cool with trading out like one Siphoning Strike. Like Rampaging Bakai could go if we want. And just some of this, just need to push the curve down. There's probably too many 4-drops in here. I don't remember what all of our 4s are, but I need less of them. More 2s and 3s. Your standard fare. Get to see that countdown really tick off again. Nice. Would have been nice if we could have got a level 3 or Renekton. Maybe one day. Maybe before the trial's over. So much Ash today. Trade out some of these 4s, look for cheapers. That'll have to do. Definitely be happy to trade out the Sanctum Conservator. Kind of done with this guy. We don't need this. It was interesting when we thought we might be a Slayers deck, but once we pushed away from that, it was pretty clear he wasn't going to be very good.
Would you look at this place?
Let's get to hopping.
And wind's behind me. Woohoo! Gonna catch the sky.
Let's just keep this board clear. Oh, you got more tricks? Okay. It's not horrible. I mean, we traded 2 cards for 2 cards. We technically got the advantage there since he spent 4 mana to our 3. But I would prefer this thing be gone. Just takes away his ability to play things like Pale Cascade.
The world's in a grain of sand.
Can't not play units forever just because we have the Roiling Sands on the board. Unless he just has like the most awkward hand of the year. Definitely gotta do something now, my man. So we don't have particularly good answers to Trundle, but I do want to get everything in on an attack this turn. So let's do something like this.
Life stirs.
Trundle won't get the kill onto Sandcrafter unless he has an additional trick. It's kind of hard for his faction to do. Unspeakable Horror would be reasonably likely here. Unspeakable Horror is going to be more likely than Pale Cascades, given that he's playing Nocturne. Sure. This also gets his old Trundle into... Well, he's going to regenerate. Never mind. I thought he was going to be in range of a Siphoning Strike, but that'll take a little bit more work. Close to flipping Azir. This dude has just had an absolute ton of combat tricks this game. Wild. I guess that's what you can expect when he's just played so few units, but... Uh-oh. At least none of his units can actually kill Azir in this spot. Needs another card.
I'll knock 'em dead.
Fury of the North? Okay. Took a lot of work. Our hand does not line up against this well. We need a unit booster. Sting. Probably do want to use the Ambassador. I think I'm okay to overwrite the Sun Disc. It's pretty far away from doing anything useful.
Azir's command.
This attack doesn't... Just taking his one unit off the board doesn't seem that good here. Get his Ice Pillar rolling this turn, but... I mean, we have to be pretty close to getting this double Siphoning Strike off, right? I think so. Oh, he already has Vulnerable. Look at that. Let's just get rid of that unit. He's not going to do anything here.
You are just as the stories tell, Curator.
I do worry these Siphoning Strikes aren't going to quite do enough work. I mean, he's already played like 1,000 combat tricks, right? you have to run out of that shit at some point. Almost a little on the scarier side of things. Need to go ahead and Siphoning Strike just so that we can have this like 8/8 Nasus. Probably. It's gonna be 7/7, right? Yeah. Got quite a bit of overwhelm that's about to come at us. I think we have to do something. What else are you supposed to say?
Intertwined.
Apparently, you can have all the combat tricks in the world.
Bow to your king. I am rather large.
Just have no good interactions with any of this.
Lunari, rise!
Well, we can put some damage in front of Rummel and try to get a hook on him next turn. I think that's the extent of what we can do. Sure. We're gonna have to block something with Nasus as well. So we're doing this. Like, this is probably fine. I want to keep Sandkeeper as our way to hook Rummel. We're not dead, are we? Go to 5? Okay. I think we're probably done for. I'm not seeing any fantastic means to deal with this Trundle. Let's see if we can piece something together. We cannot. Yeah, all of his units have vulnerable. We can at least do some good hooks here. 2, 3, 5. Okay. Guess we should have started with Doomkeeper, but still have to be okay. Alright, Exhaust might help us do it. Well, Exhaust might give us a way to kill Trundle. Just not playing cards. Really gonna have additional combat tricks. I mean, we have to play like he doesn't have them, but seems like we're about to be in for a bad time. We have to hook this with Nasus. We're just gonna have to try and get a hook kill on him. So, but okay, here's how we're gonna have to do this. Oh, no, if we Siphoning Strike down here, we have to get we have to do it like this. We have to do it before combat. We have to put the 4 damage on him. We have to get 2 Slays to take him up to 6, and then the 6 can take down Trundle. This game's just done. He's going to have a combat trick, but this is at least assuming, you know, if our opponent has nothing, this is our way to not completely lose this game.
I turn it like so.
We march!
All unmeasured.
This. So. Here it comes. Oh my gosh, the combat's ending. Wow. No. It is what it is. Oh, and feel the rush. That makes sense. It kind of is what it is. It was tough as far as this goes. Like when it comes to like these mono Sharama decks, this is, oh no, the thing went away. This is the issue that I always end up having with them. I really don't like drafting mono Sharama. It's not to say that it won't be a thing at some point in time. They just need some more cards. The early game here is just too bad. And it's not even that bad. It's just that the units are so bad. And so the way I typically look at these decks whenever we get into these Sun Disc decks is we always seem to be able to piece together the vulnerable package. It's just having the way to take advantage of the vulnerable package that's just always impossible to do. And so that's why I was like initially talking about with Nasus and his Slayers package. You have to get paired up with another faction that can do stuff in the early game. And so if you're playing these this package of Exhaust, Rockhopper, Ruthless Predator, Merciless Hunter, Bukai Sandspinner, huge, super interactive package, but you have to have units that can survive a combat. And so, if you want to just take a peek at the rest of these, you have, Bloodthirsty Marauder with 1 health, Dunekeeper with 1 health, Rockhopper with 1 health. The only other cards are there's Aspiring Chronomancer, and then the only other common is Esteemed Hierophant, which we saw 0 of. And so I don't think that any of the other Predict Bros have it, but it's just you can't play an early game with this deck because you just get 2-for-1 all over the place. And so that's why running into these Ash decks that we somehow played against 3 of in a row caused so much problems for this, just because you have to, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to play an Exhaust and get into combat and just hope you don't have a trick. If you have a Brittle Steel, then I'm just going to get 2-for-1. And you just keep getting 2-for-1 over and over and over again. Just anytime your opponent has a combat trick, you can never be like, okay, well, I'm going to exhaust, your 3/3 with my 3/3, and then, you're a 1/3, your unit is expected to die. If you have a combat trick, we're just going to bounce, right? It's just every time with these stupid cards. If your opponent has a combat trick, you lose your unit in combat. And so that's why I was talking about with Nasus. You want to get him paired up with something that can have some early game combat. It's usually Shadow Isles, and that's usually things like having Cursed Keeper that you don't care if it dies, or having things like your fading icons, so that you trade away a unit, but you still have something left over to do other things with. And there's just none of these cards live within Mono Sharma, and as ultimately, I thought we might be able to kind of pull out of it with some of these token cards, but then at the end of the day, we're really just kind of like a bad token stack, and so just not super happy with how this shaped up, and I'm ultimately never super happy with how these Sun Disc decks shape up. I really felt like we might be able to get one of these things to pop off, but it's just not the case today. And so we got some flipped champions, but we didn't get 2 of them. And so it's tough. And so maybe, in the future, there will be once there's more cards out, you'll be able to do the Sun Disc deck, and you really take advantage of the, what do you call the 4-cost unit, the Golden Ambassador, and take advantage of the Siphoning Strikes to give, all of your champions the bonus, and you just have this really good synergistic thing going. But that's such a late game play that you don't have the early game that can help you get there. So ultimately my problem with this style of deck. We've drafted it. This is the 3rd time. It might be the 4th time I've drafted the Sun Disc, the 3rd or the 4th time I've done a video on it. Or I think I've had 1 trial that I didn't record, and then 2 or 3 that I have recorded. And it's honestly, it's the same thing every time. You just have no early game. You're just stuck with these Dunekeepers and Rockhoppers, trying to hope your opponent doesn't have combat tricks, and then you just get blown out by combat tricks. And so it's kind of unfortunate, but one day this will be a thing, I assure you. And so you can kind of see the power of the Sand Soldiers here. At least I'm sure everyone is familiar with the power of the Sand Soldiers. It kind of sucks that we were in a 50-50 style deck here, but I think that's, we were just ultimately being a little too clever. We should have just, well, I guess I should say, if we wanted to go for 7 wins, then we should have just come out and just been a Sand Soldiers deck and draft, down here, we would not have taken Nasus. We would have taken another Azir. We would have tried to have been a 3 Azir deck. We were pretty close to having all the tools to being a real Sand Soldiers deck. Just the only thing we were lacking was Emperor's Diaz's. But I really wanted to play towards the Sun Disc because it's so hard to find. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. There may be a reward or 2 to click on, so let's see what lives out here. I'm going to say 4 loots. These aren't going to be prismatics. These are all going to be Lab of Legends kind of things. Oh, rare prismatic soap. What do we got? We got to take the unit. Welcome to the club, Niandroid. Being all premium and everything out here. And it's a cat. It's always a real perk. So we got some kind of Dark Horizon icon, whatever that is. Some kind of Malphite icon. We did it. That is gonna do it. And so, I hope you all learned how to bring back the Sun Disc a little bit better. Maybe learned a thing or 2 along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.